Good afternoon and welcome to Oasis Church International and Oasis Community Development Center's Nutrition and Mental Health Forum. I am so excited to be here and I'm so excited that you are with us today. We do have some youth participants that are on our live as well that will be participating and receiving 8 hours of community service. We also have some parents on, and thank you to all of our audience that are out there on YouTube, on our website, as well as our Facebook page. And we also have Twitter that we are broadcasting live on. So if you would like to join us, you can go to Oasis Church, intl.org. You can also go to oasiscommunitydc.org and or visit us on our Facebook site and or YouTube. So I am pleased to, number one, say thank you to my pastor, Cassandra V. Fullwood, for allowing us to be here today and speaking to the lives of all age groups regarding nutrition and our mental health, a subject that is not really talked about a lot. So we have some great information for you on today. I am Lisa Johnson. I am one of the ministers as well as the mental health coordinator at Oasis Church International and Oasis Community Development Center. We have today the beautiful Miss Shane Jackson from Flint, Michigan. She is a nutrition coach and she is also a health coach who is going to be speaking with us regarding her expertise in nutrition and mental health. So you can take it over, Ms. Shane Jackson.
And good afternoon. Like she said, once again, I am Shane Jackson and I am here housed in Flint, Michigan. I am. You can also. Benjamin Franklin once said, "Tell me and I'll forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I will learn." This is one of the quotes that I follow to help educate and also inspire my youth and as well as adults when it comes to nutrition. I actually started my first business called Healthy Just Feels Right in 2018 because of my passion when it comes to nutrition and longevity. I am a certified holistic health coach. Also, I have my master's in criminal justice, my bachelor's in nursing, and I have a long line of certifications, and I will bore you with all of that. But I am employed at Michigan State University. I have a personal relationship right here inside the city of Flint. When it comes to my youth, my parents is also the senior population because I do work far as nutrition to assist the residents in actually making healthy goals. And that's my main focus, is actually improving the quality of life when it comes to individuals and their relationships with food. But also my approach is helping others find healing mentally and physically through nutrition overall. My main focus, again, is our youth. You as the youth, you are our future leaders, and our lives are in your hands. And I want to make sure as a professional that you have everything that you need to be equipped with this thing called life. I practice a holistic approach to health and wellness, which means I look at the overall life and connect it all, how you guys actually stress in school, your relationship when it comes to food, and when it comes to lack of sleep, the lack of energy, things that's detailing inside a teen's life, as far as when it comes to, moving forward into becoming young adults. This forum is going to cover things that you can do to actually keep you healthy, but things that you can do to prevent you from even getting sick, because we hold the key to that. And medication was not always the answer. I always say medication is never the answer. It was a time that we all grew our food at one time, and we all ate from our own garden and things of that nature because we had big mamas that fed us that way. You youth also have an opportunity now. Everything is fast. I want it and I want it now. So we're pulling up at, drive-through stores and things of that nature, but we want to actually educate you to a level of giving you tips on how to avoid those certain type of places. Are all you water drinkers? I want to do a poll of how many actually drink water and how much water you think that you should drink a day. And you can put that. You as a young adult, how much water do you think you're supposed to drink a day? And I'll give you 5-10 seconds to kind of answer that question, because water is a very important component to have inside your eating habit. Because I hate to say diet, because diet is not a word I like to use. So I give you 5 to 10 minutes, 5 to 10 seconds for you to chime in and say, how much water are you supposed to drink a day for you to be young adults? And you can put it right in the chat. And Robert said 3 bottles of water a day. And I'm gonna give you a couple more seconds. And Raven said 5. 3 to 4 bottles. Okay, so you guys are on the right track. It is very important for you to have water. I always tell my youth to have between 6 to 8 16-ounce bottles of water a day. You are more active than we are as adults because you are into sports. You guys are getting up in the morning time, exiting the house. You're doing a lot of walking from class to class and things of that nature. So I always say 6 to 8 bottles of water, and that's 16-ounce waters and not 20. The number will change with 20 ounces. Why is water so important? Water is one of those components that you need to keep your brain melanated, to keep it function properly, because it needs water to actually for it to survive, but it also needs other things. So when you think about eating, you have things far as a thing called MyPlate, which the USDA put together, and you have fruits and veggies and grains, and you have dairy, and you have protein. And these are the main components that we all need overall in life, but our youth need them more. But who do you think need a bigger diet, male versus female? Do you think female is supposed to eat a lot more, or do you think a man's supposed to eat a lot more? And Raven said a man. Robert said males. And so you guys are correct. Males eat more than what females do because your bone mass is bigger than ours, but a female actually eat more fruits than a male do because her body is going through hormonal changes, and she needs a lot of fruit and she needs a lot of green food. And what I mean by green food is like spinach, broccoli, kale, peas, string beans. These are things that control her mood because we are moody people. But you're also more when you actually are coming through those ages inside being a teenager. Also, growth is you guys are constantly growing. And so you want to keep that dairy inside your diet. But what if I'm not a dairy eater? Like, where do I get my calcium and things from if I cannot get it through me drinking milk? We have products far as oat milk, we have soy milk, we have I'm a fan of oat milk. That's my favorite. But I don't do too much dairy when it comes to like things of that nature. But vitamin D, you can get them through different supplements, like even broccoli. Broccoli have tons and tons of calcium. Spinach have tons and tons of calcium in it. And so you want to actually start implementing those things inside your diet. But then you say, what exactly is eating healthy? And so when you look at the MyPlate of eating healthy, you want to have a certain serving size in each one of those pockets. So for us, as young adults, because I'm going to include me with you, 3 to 4 servings inside my fruit. I want to have at least 3 to 4 inside my veggies because you guys are constantly moving. I say 1 to 2 inside dairy, but then also protein, 5 to 6 ounces of protein. And what is protein? Do any of you know what protein is and what do protein look like? Because I always bring up protein and a lot of people don't know what protein is. They know what the word is, but they're like, well, what is protein? Can someone tell me what protein is or give me an example of protein? So I'll answer that for you. Protein is actually like lean meat. That means that I'm going to get a lot of chicken breasts inside my diet. I'm going to get a lot of eggs inside my diet. I'm going to even pull my nuts inside my diet. And I always tell people nuts can be your best friend. And the reason why I say this, you can eat a handful of nuts a day, at least 5 times out of a day, and it will prevent you from ever having a heart attack. And so they say, do kids have heart attacks? Yes, they do. We are also threatened as adults as we start to age that we stand a greater chance of having a heart attack, but some youth do have heart attacks. And so you want to keep those nuts inside your diet because it has a component in it that actually prevents you from actually ever having a heart attack. And I always say, they say, well, is it a particular type of nut? I say either walnut, or I love pecans, but walnut is one of those things that you want to keep inside your diet. Cashews, peanuts, it has a little bit of it in it, but it's not as potent as a walnut, peanut, or a cashew. Also, you want to put in a lot of beans. Beans can be your best friend. Beans help move you, but also beans gives you a lot of power. It stops you from actually being so tired. Have anybody ever got to the point when they get to their first hour of class and they like super, super tired and they don't know why they're tired? Because that's one of those classes that everybody hates, is their first hour. They struggle like from class to class, but that first hour is the worst. Yes, Olivia said yes. So what usually happens is if you don't have, as I say, a well-balanced diet, that means that if I have not had my breakfast in the morning, because it is the most important meal of the day. And as they say, an apple a day actually keeps the doctor away. They told the truth when they told you that. Grab an apple. An apple is one of those things that you can eat to actually, when you're in that funk, and I know you all have been in that place before that you felt like, you were around your friends, you felt super happy, and then all of a sudden you felt super low. An apple is one of those things that it's a happy food. An apple and a banana. Usually when you look at the banana and it's shaped like a U and it's shaped like a smiley face, that's what it's for. That it has a component in there that makes you feel happy. And so I always educate to make my kids understand that, eat your happy food. Those apples, those bananas, spinach, do a salad and dress it up with like things like strawberries. We are a lot of us on this forum are African American, and we eat a certain type of way. And so you have to think, like, before we were actually transitioned from Africa to here to America, we adapted to this American culture. And that means American culture means that we have this American diet that we follow with fried food, fast food, things that we didn't normally eat. African Americans are known for Mediterranean eaters. And so what I mean by Mediterranean is that we eat a lot of green food, a lot of fishy people. We're really, really fishy people. A lot of berries, dark blueberries, raspberries, because the darker the red, blackberries as well. And then we were known for eating a lot of nuts. And we lived a very long time. A lot of people that are living a long time have adapted to this way of eating called Mediterranean. And so that actually prevents them from having Alzheimer. It prevents them from having things like dementia. It prevents them from actually dying early. And so we got away from how we used to eat. Also inside the diet, we have to reduce things like butter, because a lot of us use butter on everything. I mean, butter. We cannot get enough of butter, and we can actually avoid butter by adding things into our recipes like applesauce or yogurt. And us as women, we need yogurt. Us as young women, we need yogurt because it keeps our body balanced as well. Many of our teenagers, a lot of us are going through depression. Mental health is serious when it comes to our youth, and we don't talk enough about how you feel. I always say, you as an individual, talk as much as you want to talk about the things that you are going through, but also be very aware of the things that you're putting in your body, because guess what? The food that you're putting in your body is actually controlling your mood, that it actually is connected. Mood and food is connected. So if I'm eating Flaming Hots and I'm drinking a Mountain Dew, that means that my body is on 1,000 and my brain is working. These people upstairs, they are working 10 times as hard as they're supposed to be working. And guess what? I'm going to come to this low eventually. And I'm going to be really, really sad. And I don't know why, but I just went through this super, super high of eating all this sugar and all these different additives inside my food. And that's why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. Also, we want to actually be as physical as we possibly can. Physical activity, that means take a walk. Sometimes you may want to walk by yourself, because it's something about connecting with oneself that one feels like themselves, that you don't have to be around a lot of people in order for you to feel like you. And then when you are not around yourself and finally ready to be around people, then you kind of start talking about some of the things that you are going through. But a lot of us do this through food. I mean, I don't know what it is about bonding. As a parent, the most important time is dinner time. This is a time of bonding. This is a time of understanding. This is a time to talk over food, but talk and eat slow. And that's how you enjoy the food when you eat it slow. A lot of us eat food so fast that we don't get the idea of really just enjoying what we're eating. We're just eating to prepare for our next snack or eating to prepare for our next meal. And so we want to start eating slow, and we want to start inclining like different water. And if you're not a water drinker, add things in like fruit, add things in like mint, to actually change the flavor of the water so you can actually enjoy the water, because you're still going to get the effect of the water, but you're just going to add some more additive to it and some more nutrients to it. So I usually dress my water up. I add some raspberries to it. I add some mints to it. And so I'll let it sit overnight. And so when I'm on my way out the door, I grab that bottle of water. And so that means that nutrients from that raspberry and that mint is inside my water, and I can drink it. And so it helps prepare me for my first hour of class. And so you as individuals, our future leaders, these are things that you want to start doing inside your household. Make sure you try to prep your something to eat the night before, because you usually spend 2 to 3 hours on your phone before it's time for you to wind down for bed. Within those 2 to 3 hours, I challenge you to take one of those hours and prep you something for you to actually eat before you walk out the door. And that could look like putting together some fruit inside of a container and saying, hey, I'm gonna remind myself to grab this fruit before I walk out the door, or lay an apple out on the counter with some water next to it, so you grab it on your way out the door. A lot of us as parents are known for driving our kids to Starbucks in the morning time and getting them Starbucks before they get to high school. And they're wired off caffeine, and their brain cannot function in class properly. And so you get to a point where you have a teacher that may reach out to you that's on here as parents, and they may call you and have issues with your kid. Like, I think your son may need to be checked for ADHD, or I need your daughter to be checked for, ADHD. A lot of our kids are not suffering from ADD or ADHD. They are suffering from NDD, and it's called nutrition deficiency disorder. If I don't feed my child right, my child will not act right. And that means they will not be able to be that elite child that I need them to be. They won't be able to be competitive as they are with their counterpart that is eating properly in the morning time, that they're getting spinach, they're getting kale, they're getting their eggs in the morning time, they're getting smoothies in the morning time, which our babies are not. And it's very, very important for us to make sure that we set the tone in the morning time, because that controls how everything goes during the day, how my baby's going to learn, and then how my baby's going to react when we get out of school. Because baby, if they have not ate right and they come through that door after that long day, the claws is out, and they don't want to have a conversation at all, because our school may be the main reason why our kids are not really being sufficient or elite. So you sometimes as a parent, you may want to come in, because a lot of us don't come in. Look at what they're feeding our kids for lunch. And we gonna have to get involved as well and say, hey, I don't like the idea of my child getting X, Y, and Z for lunch. I think you guys need to implement this instead, because this is how our kids become elite in their classes and being able to retain information. When me and Lisa first had our conversation, I shared something special with her, and it's called The Color of the Rainbows. I think this is something that was taught to us as kids. So you remember when you were that little bitty child, and I just used Robert and Olivia, and then your kindergarten teacher, your first grade teacher said, hey, draw me a rainbow, draw me a most beautiful rainbow you could ever think of. And so everybody grabbed their crayons out. Everybody grabbed their crayons. They super excited. And everybody got their paper, and everybody want to have the best rainbow. But guess what they want to have at the end of that rainbow? They want to have that pot of gold, because that's important. You got to have a pot of gold. So everybody coloring. And time passing, and she's walking around the room, and she's looking at everybody coloring, and everybody coloring. And so finally she says, show me your, art. And so everybody excited, holding up their, rainbow. What she failed to tell you was she was actually giving you advice, is actually drawing out your life, the rainbow of life. Each one of those colors that she's giving you, that red, that blue, that yellow, that green, that orange, it all was connected to the rainbow, which was the rainbow of life. That rainbow represents red. Foods that I eat that is red, that is good for my heart. That's why she gave me that color. Then she gave me yellow food. So you think of like the meat itself, which would be pineapple, which is an antioxidant. That's good for infection. So when you feel like you got that little cough or scratch in your throat, you want to add some pineapples in there to help fight infections. But then also she gave me green. Green is actually a preventative method that actually prevents us from even getting cancer. But also, if a person has cancer, it reduces a lot of the effects of cancer by eating a lot of green food. Then she gave me the color blue. Blue, oh my goodness, that was my memory food. That was for my brain. And then we had orange. Orange is good for my hair, my skin, my nails. And so at the at the very end of that rainbow, it was a pot of gold. And that pot of gold was your goal of life. That she had just introduced you just through coloring the rainbow. She was introducing you to life. That these were everything that we needed inside our diet in order for us to be alive for a very long time. And so I educate constantly about the color of rainbow because those are things we need. We need those tomatoes. So when you cut the tomato open, and I want you guys to do this as soon as you get off the Zoom today, find a tomato. And when you cut the tomato open, you're going to look at it and it looks like the chambers of your hearts. And that's what it's for. It has anti-cancer properties in it that actually prevent you from being getting cancer, but it also keeps your heart beating at a good tone. Tomatoes, that's what it's for. The chambers are there. You're going to actually see the muscle around it just through a tomato. Then we have, our orange, good for our skin, our nails, our teeth, because it's good for bones as well. But those are like apricots, and a lot of us don't eat apricots. But guess what? My challenge to you is try something you've never had before, because that's what life is about. We have to make changes. We can't stay the same. The old you cannot be introduced to the new you, because when you get off here, you're going to probably be the new you. So a lot of things you used to do that was old, it's going to be, no, I can't do that no more, because I can't introduce the old me to the new me. And so add those oranges in there, like apricots, carrots, mango, yellow peppers. Yellow peppers is good as well. You can actually saute those. You can actually eat those raw with dip. I say dark greens, which is good, a preventative method for cancer, but also, it is good for women because, have you ever got to the point where you bumped your knee or you bumped your leg, and then when a day or two later, you have this big old bruise on your leg and you be like, oh man, like, where did that come from? But my body is telling me I don't even have enough green in my diet. And that's why I am hurting as bad as I am. And that's why I bruise the way I bruise. So I'm going to tell you a story about this rainbow. And I'm going to tell you a story as far as Caucasian versus African American. A lot of our counterparts, which are Caucasian, they stay in the league, as far as football and basketball league, a long time. Why? Because they heal quicker than we do. Guess what? Because their diet was different from ours. So we had this very diet that we just ate whatever we wanted to eat, junk food, all that. It took our body a lot longer to heal versus theirs because they were eating the right stuff and we were not. And so that's why it became elite. And then all of a sudden our career is over, that we just could not get past this injury because we were not healing as fast as my counterpart was healing, because they were keeping things like asparagus, apricot, pineapples, artichoke, things that you would have never thought, Brussels sprouts, because a lot of our kids don't even eat Brussels sprouts as well, but they kept things in their diets to help them heal quicker. Zucchini, green peppers. But then we go back to the blue food, our brain food. And so if you ever got to the point where your teacher was in class and they were talking and they said, well, make sure you write this information down because it's going to be on a test Friday. Then when Friday comes, you be like, I don't know what she said. I don't remember nothing she said. What she was trying to let you know was, hey, if I don't remember nothing that my teacher is telling me or my mother is telling me or my family members are telling me, my body is lacking blue. And that means I need to increase those blueberries inside my diet because that is a brain food. It is very, very high in calcium, but also it helps generate new brain cells just through eating blueberries and blackberries. And they didn't tell us all these things as we were transitioning through, being a young child to a preteen, to a teenager, to adulthood. And now all of a sudden this rainbow has appeared, but this rainbow was always in our face. So I want you guys to be very, very open-minded to starting to eat things from the rainbow and say, hey, you know what? I don't have enough of the rainbow on my plate. When you see your plate, if it doesn't look colorful, that means I need to add some color to it, because the more colors to it, the more benefits it's going to do for my body. But usually we just, we flaming hot in it. We, drinking our Mountain Dew, and then we feel that is sufficient enough, for us, but we have to start adding more things inside our diets because our mental health is everything. As we start to go through the stage of dealing with mental health. And then I'm open and very honest and transparent with me as an individual that I went through depression as well. I went through a very, very bad stage from preteen to teenager and could not figure out what was wrong with me. No matter how hard my mother tried to talk to me, no matter how hard my mother tried to get me into therapy, and I went through therapy, no matter how hard the psychiatrist started changing the medication, I just was not me. The medication took me away from who I was, and I didn't like the way that felt. And so it took me to start digging more as a young adult to figure out, like, wait a minute, it's something about what I'm eating, because it was certain stuff I would eat and I would feel certain ways. Like, wait a minute, I feel so much better now. Then the next day I eat something else that was full of sugar, because we don't supposed to have that much sugar. And it is a difference between male and female with sugar. Who's supposed to have the most? Do anybody know who can have more sugar than the other? Male versus female, because there's a difference. Males can have more. So a woman, preteen, teenager, we are known to actually be able to have just 7 teaspoons, not teaspoons of sugar, and guys are allowed to have 9. And that's because of their body mass. Everything go back to body mass, but then also, and then it depends though, because you may be a female, you're more active than your male counterpart, and then that number will change. But everything go back to physical activity. The more active you are, the more likely you'll be able to have, because your body will be burning these things off. So definitely embrace eating healthy. I tell moms, I tell dads, don't just take the kids just straight off the medication, just do it in moderation, but also balance it out with eating healthy, because mental health not only affects your child, but it affects everybody in the house. Everybody is affected by mental health. So that's a walk that your child cannot walk alone. You can't just say, oh my goodness, get over it, you just had a bad day. It's not that. It is a chemical component that actually requires a lot of work, and that's family work. And the child cannot do it alone, because right now in our society, right now in the United States, the number one killer right now at this very moment is suicide. Suicide. It's no longer heart disease. It's no longer, diabetes. It is suicide. And our kids are hurting, and they're hurting bad, and they don't know how to talk about it, because why? Us as parents, we just tell them that you're going to get over it. When you think about this 5 years from now, you're going to look back and laugh at this. No, we don't want to think about 5 years down the line, because I may not have 5 years. I may not even have 5 minutes. So we need to talk about this now. And we need to start changing how we eat inside the household, not as one individual, but as a collective. That everybody has to be on the same page with that child that's going through mental health issues, because we're going through this as a family. And so everybody has to sit down and have a conversation as we all transition through this together as a family, and not just, oh, we're going to cook Olivia stuff by herself because she's going through depression and everybody else get to eat something separately. We have to do this as a collective. So everybody is on the same page, because that's how you're going to lose your child, because they're going to feel like they are the outcast of the family and they're the weird one, where I'm the burden, because they have to do things separately from me. And no, we have to do this together as one. And so even for me to be an adult, I'm realizing that even through depression, that we have this gene inside of us, that our kids can carry this on from generation to generation. We want to nip this in the bud now. Why not nip it in the bud by changing the way we eat inside the household? Because I had a parent talk to me, the child had been struggling with ADHD for 3 years, no friends, no nothing, because they do pull you away from your friends because you're in that slump. And she said, I just can't figure it out. I said, well, how does the child eat? Well, my child is a picky eater. I said, picky how? Well, you know what I'm saying? They just eat whatever they want to eat, and I just let them eat what they want to eat. And I said, well, let me just get this right. So what do they eat? And so she's a grocery shopper. I said, so you're telling me that you have a 10-year-old in the house that's physically getting inside of a car, driving to the grocery store, making purchases, driving back home and putting them up, and he the one that make the decision as far as what's being cooked inside the household, because he's the one that go there? And she said, no. I said, no, because that's what you're telling me. Us as parents, we control what comes inside the household. So we got to actually take ownership that we're the reason why a lot of kids have mental health issues, that we're putting this stuff inside the house. And my mother had to own that. Like, wait a minute. I was cooking pork chops and, rice loaded down with butter. And I mean, sugar. Oh, she loaded sugar onto the rice. I mean, it was a lot of things that I should not have had when I was a younger child, that I was this close to not being here. And I thank God for actually waking me up to be here, to even be on this forum, because depression is real, anxiety is real, but also our food holds the key to longevity. There's certain foods you can eat that can actually bring you away from depression. And that means keeping those greens inside your diet, keeping that apple inside your diet, keeping those bananas inside your diet. Because a lot of you probably remember a time when you felt so low that you may not even been on this Zoom right now with us, that you were that one step away from not being here, because I've been in that place. And it's a lonely place and no one understands it but you. But guess what? You get to talk about it. You get to talk about it to your parents. And we have to be more open-minded as parents to have these conversations with our kids, because they're going through stuff and they're going through it alone. And they didn't ask to come here alone. So I'm gonna probably close my thing out. If anybody have any questions for me, because I could talk about this subject forever, because this is what I do. I've been doing it for a very long time. That now I have my first book called Rainbow Power, that it will actually be on Amazon as of October 1st. And it talks about the color of the rainbows and foods that you put inside your body. But I'm teaching at a very early level, because I want to get our babies at that early level when we are drawing that rainbow, when we are coloring it, when we are at the point that we have that, pot of gold at the very bottom, because that's important, because depression is happening earlier and earlier now. You have kids that's 4 years old that's saying, like, I feel alone. And that's scary for a 4-year-old to be able to identify that they feel alone. So we want to have these conversations, but we need to have them more earlier than now. But one thing about us as parents, listen to understand our kids and don't listen to judge them, because, hey, we already walked that walk. Allow them to take your hand to walk it too, but help them along the way, because they need our help. We may not have needed the help, but I say I did. I really needed the help, but my mother did not know how to mother me, because her mother did not mother her. And so when I came along, she didn't know how to mother. And so she just did what she knew how to do, because that's what her mother taught us. So we need to end generational habits with our babies and create some new ones. And it starts all the way back to how we feed them.
Wow. Shane, I am like, wow. First, I just like to say that was awesome. A wealth of knowledge for our youth. I just want to ask our youth right quick before I start asking questions. Do you have any questions? And then I do want to, I'll come back and ask some questions, for adults as well, for all of the adults that's watching and, are still battling with mental health issues, because I think the same thing applies. Am I right or wrong, Shane?
Correct. For me right now I'm running a program called Food and Mood at the Genesee County Jail. And these are, once upon a time, was preteen and teenagers that have transitioned into the jail population. And a lot of them are ending generational habits and cycles through me, that they never knew how to be fathers. And a lot of the mothers never knew how to be mothers. They're reaching out to their kids and they're asking for forgiveness. Guess what, y'all? We get to ask for forgiveness. It's okay to apologize to our kids for not having the answers, because we didn't.
That's right.
But it starts with us first, in order for them to actually respect us and for us to be able to respect them.
Yes, that is so awesome. Food and mood. I can definitely relate, because most people know, and I have an open book as well, that I've suffered from bipolar disorder, but I'm living very successfully with it as well. But there are days when I have sugary foods and my brain is just like all over the place. Immediately I have a brain fog. I can't think straight. And I agree with water. I'm a water drinker, but if I don't, get a lot of water in a day, it throws me off in terms of trying to concentrate. I work in human resources and I am required to concentrate. I am required to make good decisions. So, and sound decisions, to the managers and, for our employees. So it's so important. This is so good, because this is our everyday life. I love the rainbow. Do you have any questions? And congratulations on your upcoming book.
Yes.
I tell you what, You asked some questions, and this is not just to bribe you, but I am going to personally purchase a few books, and we will raffle off some books for our youth because this is so important. So important. So youth, any questions, you can type them in the chat. What about those foods that you don't like?
Yeah, because you can put it, I mean, and then I tell people, you can have the things that you love. You're allowed to have Oreo cookies. You're okay. You're all right to have chocolate cake, because chocolate is actually good for depression.
Wow.
Milk chocolate is good for depression. Yes, almonds. You're allowed to have those things, but it's called having it in moderation. One of the guys told me, like, you know what? Well, I just take the first row of Oreos, and I said, you eat all? He said, if it's a thin one, that means it's 19 of them, and I eat all 19. I'm like, no, we can't do that, because that's a sugar overload. And then when you come to that ultimate low, you wake up in the county jail and you wonder, what am I doing here? Like, how did I even get here? It's a such thing as starving yourself from the nutrients that you need. But guess what usually happens? And everyone on here is youth as well as adults. Your organ's going to actually find a way to get what it needs for it to survive. And it takes it from your bones. The main source of your body is going to take it from there. And guess what happens as you start to get older? Your bones are brittle and they break very easily. And the first thing to go for a woman is her hip. Yeah. That is going to take everything that it needs. Is it possible to have an overload of nutrition? You can balance it. If you're active, that's not a such thing. But if you're not active, it is a such thing as having an overload. I had someone say they take a supplement of vitamin D, they take a supplement of omega-3, then they eat salmon, then they eat broccoli. You don't have to have the supplement if you're getting all the natural food. So you can have a balance in between. But I say for a child, if you're not getting nutrients every single day, supplement inside these children's diet, but make sure they have that omega-3. They need to have omega inside their diets, because that's what keeps their brain going and functioning properly and making proper decisions when it comes to being a preteen or a teenager, because they don't make the best decisions. But a food has a lot to do with why they're not making the decisions that they're making. And they may be failing horribly in all their classes. And a lot of parents will be like, he just dumb and he just don't get it. No, it's not. I just fed my son some pork chops and some buttery corn, and you know what I'm saying, and gave him a red pop, and you wonder why he can't function.
Right.
I've sat inside IEPs and I'm like, so what did your son have before he got to school today? Oh, I gave him Fruit Loops. He said, no, I ain't have Fruit Loops. I had some Skittles and I had, you know what I'm saying, a red pop before I got here. Before school? He like, yeah, I get them every morning. She's like, oh, he don't get that. He said, Mama, yes, I do. I eat that every morning. But guess what? Those red dyes inside that food, that blue dye, that yellow dye inside, they are called excitotoxins. And what they do is they slow up the process of the brain, how you think and how you feel and how you react. And so those excitotoxins are not good. And they don't want to have the conversation about excitotoxins, but they're very real. So you find them in Fruit Loops. You find them in Lucky Charms. You find them in your candy, like Skittles. Those are all red dyes. And then you wonder why your child is 3 years old and you're like, my child just got diagnosed with so-and-so, and I don't know why, but you've been giving them suckers for the longest that have been laced in red 40. So it's like, you know, I had to play my part in this, because I was giving him suckers way early when I could have been doing nutritional things like giving him cut up, you know, oranges or cut up apples, you know, a little bit of caramel to it, semi-sweetened. You know, it's certain things that you can do. And honey can be your best friend, because honey is something that you can put inside your diet. The more herbs you have, the more body will stay balanced. Turmeric is good for you. I'm big turmeric. I'm big on garlic. Even when I have a scratchy throat, feel like I'm gonna get sick, you can eat garlic and it kind of just chases away that cold. But definitely they put these herbs here for a reason. And as my adults always say, if I went in a grocery store right now, Miss Jackson, and the way you break down all the food, if it would have been there, I'd have been purchasing all this stuff. But they don't break this stuff down in the grocery store. So it's like I just walk right past it because I don't know what it's supposed to do for me. So hey, it's just there. But it will come a time that will be there one day, that you will know exactly why this is set up this way, and why I have to have apples, and why I have to have strawberries, and why I have to have blueberries. But it all goes back to the color of the rainbows. And this is the color of longevity.
That's so good. So we have some questions here. Delana says, is it a certain type of chocolate or all chocolate?
It's supposed to be milk chocolate. Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate or milk chocolate. Dark
Yeah,
chocolate.
dark.
Okay. Dark chocolate. And I heard you mention almonds. Don't tell my pastor this. Oh my goodness. Dark chocolate and almonds.
When I say that, dark chocolate and almonds is the most perfect combination when it comes to depression. I'm just being honest.
Wow.
You don't even have to have it a lot, but it actually keeps those thoughts away. Almonds can be your best friend. Best friend. I say plenty of almonds, plenty of walnuts. You can get walnuts that's covered in dark chocolate, and it's so good for you. But also, if a person is at the point where they want to lose, it actually tricks your body into feeling like it's full, but it's really not. So you want to put those almonds inside your diet. Also, watermelon. Watermelon is another food as well that tricks your brain in saying, hey, I'm full, and you're really not. Your first brain is your stomach that controls everything that goes on and filters out inside the body. Everybody always say, no, my brain is up here. No, your first brain is your stomach, your gut. Everything comes through here, goes through there first, and then it comes out to the rest of the body. So if I'm not feeding this right, this don't function right. So this is my first brain. What am I putting here first to go to my first brain to connect to the second brain? But your first brain is your stomach.
Wow, that is so good to know. That is so true. That's why they say you are what you eat.
You are what you eat.
Yeah.
And they always say, let thy food be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy food. So the things that I eat will actually help heal me, but things I eat can actually help hurt me.
Yes.
So are you eating to live or are you eating to die? Because you're making a choice. And so I always have to put that out here. Like, okay, so the things you're putting in your body, write down everything you're eating for me. And they start to write. And I look and I say, are you eating to live or are you eating to die? Because you have to make a choice.
Right.
And so that's our babies. We have to be able, as individuals, we're making the purchase because a lot of them are not working. A lot of them are not going grocery shopping. So are we actually feeding our babies to live or are we feeding our babies to help them die?
Right.
Because the roles may change. That me as a mother, I mother my child for so long, but I'm gonna have to continue to mother my child because now I've made my child sick.
Right. That's good. Do you hear that, parents? You are mothering them now, but you may have to continue mothering them for a long time because you have made them sick. Wow, that's really good. So we have Raven that asked, is it possible to overload on nutrients?
Oh, I just answered that question. It goes right back to, how physically active that you are. Because like I said, you could have me, I'm a fish eater, and we ain't gonna go into depth in all of this, but we have a thing called blood type diet. And so everybody blood type is different and everybody blood type requires certain things. And so me, I am an AB positive. And so I'm a fishy eater. I eat a lot of fish. I can eat it every single day because my body requires it. I don't have to have red meat at all. I pull that component from my red beans, kidney beans, black beans. That's where I get that part from that I require for my body. But you can do an overload on nutrients. You can, but you can also, that's when you start to consult with someone like myself, a nutrition expert, to kind of tell you like, hey, you can fall back off of this. You don't really need to have that. That's when we come into play to let you know that you're doing too much. Because a lot of people be on supplements and then they get broccoli, then they got the omega-6, then you got too much going on. And I'm like, hey, you already pulling this source from your supplement. You don't need to do all the extra stuff. The supplement is there to kind of fill in the gaps when you can't do it yourself. That don't mean you lean on it as a crutch, because that's what we get wrong. We go wrong. We start using things as a crutch. And one thing about a crutch, it's going to eventually end. And so once they pull it away from you, then what do you do next? Because now you don't have the crutch anymore. So definitely you have to not get comfortable with wearing that crutch.
That's good. Very good. Yeah, I remember when I was taking B vitamins and I had blood work done and I was high in my B levels. So my doctor asked me, do you take B supplements? And I said, yes. She said, you don't need them. Yeah. So whatever I was eating, it was enough. Exactly. So I didn't need that supplement. So I agree. Definitely consult with a nutrition expert if you have questions once you start taking supplements and all of that. But I like what is it called? My plate. I've heard of my plate. So, in the rainbow, this is information that she's giving you. Any more any parents, questions?
And even if they have a child that's suffering from depression and you don't want your child to be on medication, the way the world is set up now from state to state, it's a lot of holistic doctors that are regular doctors right now, but you can actually ask the question, because your doctor always come back into the room and say, do you have any questions for me? And what you usually do is you stay quiet. You don't say nothing else. And then you exit the door and then you get in your car and you're like, dang, I should have asked him, but it was already too late. Ask them the question, say, hey, I know you just diagnosed my child with, ADD or ADHD. Can you pull a full panel on my child to see what they're lacking, what vitamins? Because that may be just as simple as you filling in the gaps with the vitamins, and your baby may not even be going through what they're going through, but they're just missing some things in that panel that's making them feel really, really blue. But also they have this thing called pharmacy, F-A-R-M, pharmacy, where they actually work with other individuals inside the community that will actually write a prescription for you, and they will give you the prescription through fruits and veggies when a child is going through depression. So ask that question, because a lot of counties, a lot of cities, a lot of states is jumping on pharmacy because they feel like they don't want to damage these kids' liver with all this different medication coming through it, and they have not even got to adult age yet. And you're not even fully grown until 25 years old. 25, they have a long way to go. And they just put here together as of December of last year that their brain is not even fully grown until 27. And it was younger than that. But 27 is where they finding that you are still in that developmental age of still developing their brain, the most sensitive portion of your body, because all this right here, that prefrontal cortex, where all those moods and foods and emotions are going on right here, you want to make sure you taking everything through here so this filter out right here, because that controls everything. But try to use the pharmacy. A lot of families are using that now inside Genesee County, that they don't want the medication. They just want the pharmacy.
Very good. Very good. So we're learning some alternatives on today. Don't jump off your medication, because I've been there diagnosing myself. And
so I have a question on here.
Yeah, see.
Samara, are frozen veggies okay? Frozen veggies are okay. It's called eating within season. Where you run into an issue is frozen fruit. What usually happens with frozen fruit is they put them in syrup, and that makes them even more sugary than what they are. You want to make sure when you read the package, and we're talking about labels now, you want to make sure that when you read the frozen veggies, that they have not added in extra sodium, because they usually say added sodium. You have to look on the back of it. And then you have to look at the packet when you flip it over for the fruit for the added sugar, because they'll add syrup to it, and that makes it more sugar than what it is. You don't want that. What you want is for the package to say in its own juices. You want it packaged in its own juices, fruits and veggies. And then also, if you're going to get the fruits or the veggies out of the can, you want it in its own juices as well. If you're going to get the veggies in the can, you want it to read low sodium. And you still going to drain it off, and you still going to rinse it off, and then you prepare it. So still, you got to go back to that label and read that label. A lot of us don't want to read that label, but the label is very, very important for you to read. You send me your address too, and I can send you some label pens so you can give out to the kids, but you just pull the little thing out and it has the whole label on there so they can always go back to it and look at it. But it is the bomb. Like, good. Want to look at that label. That label is serious, because everything on that label, when it says serving size of 4 and it goes down and tells you that it's 360 milligrams of sodium or whatever, you have to times 360 by 4 if you ate that whole entire can. That's all you, but it was for 4 people, but you ate that whole can, and then you got to times the sodium by the 4 that you just ate out of the whole entire can. So you got to be very, very careful with that. I have a lot of people I work with that has high blood pressure. My website is up and going. So if anybody have any questions or want a consultation, my website is up for those who are pre-diabetic, for those who actually are dealing with high blood pressure. We have kids with high blood pressure now. There's no way our baby should have high blood pressure. But guess what? We're feeding them. We're feeding them.
good. If you can put your information in the chat, that would be so good. So we can have this information and those that are out there can get this information because this is so important. Adults and children, but again, children this is our next generation. And then we want to stop that generational cycle and generational habits. So I wanted to just kind of go over some of the things just as a summary. But first, I wanted to ask you a question. So and you mentioned it as well, Shayna. I wanted to find out what food helped you the most with depression. You mentioned about depression. So what food, and then you went back to your blood type diet. So what could you recommend for depression and anxiety?
So I'm gonna tell you what my powerhouse is. The powerhouse that gave me energy like no other, and it made me feel like I was superwoman. Because I know what it's like to feel low, was the combination of kale, strawberries, walnuts, and a salad. And I call it the powerhouse. And when I tell you it is the #1 hit at the Genesee County Jail, that I had people break down and cry because they had never felt so connected. The next class, like, man, I never felt that much energy before. It gave me time to just really just think. It don't take much. Once everybody starts to break that down, those nutrients and those vitamins inside that food, it gives you a feeling like no other. I had one of the pastors, I did it for her at one of her breakout sessions in church. And she said, one of her members called and said, girl, I've been up, it's 2:00 in the morning. I'm still up off that salad. But they had never had energy like that before. It gives you energy like no other, but it gives you a clear thought process. Yes. So definitely keep a lot of kale inside your diet. And y'all may be too young to remember Popeye, or y'all may still know who Popeye is. I don't know, because the kids be like, who? Mm-hmm. But spinach is your best friend when it comes to depression. So start putting that spinach, kale, bananas, apples inside your diet, because you want to be at your best, because it doesn't feel good when you're at your worst. And it feels like the whole world is against you, like, y'all just don't get me. Right. And if we're not feeding you right, we really don't. And I have to side with you because we don't, because I've been there. I can't talk about it unless I've been there, but I've been there. So when kids tell me about a dark place, I'm already connecting with them because I've been in that dark place. I know what it's like. I know how cold it feels. I know how alone it is. And you usually feel like you're walking it alone, and you shouldn't have to walk it alone because you didn't come here alone.
That's really good. Oh, this is just so awesome, because you know what? We love food. We love to eat, and we can eat, but just eat the right foods. So I found myself having to change my lifestyle in terms of eating, and, eat the right foods, and it helps you lose weight. And we love that. But the main thing is that it helps you from a mental health and a physical health standpoint. So what about eating foods as a comfort? What would you say? Look at this, like, I'm ready.
So I'm gonna tell you what happened. So COVID happened. And so what they found within COVID is Kushi Shabishi. That's the name of it.
Spell it for us.
So it's a Chinese name. I can't spell it, but I know how to pronounce it because it's Chinese. Kushi Shabishi.
Shabishi. Okay.
Let me try to find it in my notes, but I talk about Kushi Shabishi all the time.
Okay. Kushi Shabishi.
Yeah, it's a Japanese terminology. Let me put it in the chat. But I talk about this a lot because this is what happened with COVID. Because you know what? Everybody got COVID. Wait, ooh-wee. Girl, this came from COVID. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, really? But it's actually is when you're not hungry, but you eat because your mouth is lonely. A lot of us stayed in the house a lot, and we would eat. You know how you go to the refrigerator, you're not really hungry, but you open the refrigerator and you look at it anyway. So you just like, I guess I'll eat that. And then the pounds just started coming. Our comfort food, do like yogurt parfaits, do things like smoothies, and then change the smoothies up. Because I'm always creating new smoothies. If I tried bananas with but the mouth is lonely. Yes, you're not hungry, but your mouth is lonely. That's what they call it. But they did a study on it. And a lot of people suffer from Kushi Shabishi. Wow. And they could see themselves constantly going to the refrigerator and grabbing things. You can do things like even like Ritz crackers. They have wheat ones. You can do it with tuna. You can do cookies with low-fat milk. But always you can have a cake, but I don't say eat the whole cake, because a lot of people get started on a cake, and if it's devil's food, they call it devil's food for a reason. That chocolate, baby, you will look at that cake and be like, I'm gonna have one piece, and before you know it, you already ate half of it because it's devil's food. Lemon cake, strawberry cake, it's okay to eat within moderation. Those are comfort foods. Like, you can have a trail mix. If I go out to eat, I don't know, do y'all have a Yaya's down there or a Subway? But Subway is known for giving you a lot of bread. Ask them to thin your bread out, because they'll take a whole nother layer of your bread off, because you're the customer. You're paying for it. So they'll take a whole nother layer of your bread off, and they'll put your bread in a separate bag, and it'll go with you as well, because they don't keep it. But these are things to make sure you're getting all the nutrients and vitamins and the veggies in the meat that you're looking for. Not you taking all those starches in and things of that nature. You want to be able to enjoy that sandwich. So they're going to thin that bread out for you. But Yaya's here, brown rice, baked chicken, real mashed potatoes, which with red potatoes is my favorite. A little bit of garlic to it. Garlic, and more garlic. That'll keep you well. And I was sharing on here before you guys got on here that I ended up getting COVID. And I know how I got COVID, because I was too busy taking care of everyone around me that I forgot to take care of me. I am the most healthiest person in my family, the most fit person in my family, and I'm the only one that had got COVID. And I got my COVID that I had was from New York. And so I had Detroit doctors come see me, because they were trying to figure out, like, how did I get this strand? And I'm here in Michigan. And I was sick. I spent 21 days in the hospital, which I was under for 4 days. And when I went in, I was 182 pounds. And when I came out of the hospital, I was 140.
Wow.
Yes, it knocked the hole straight into everything. And so I spent 3 days at the hospital, collapsed in my living room, ended up calling 911 because I couldn't breathe. And so when I came to, I was back in the hospital for 5 more days. And it changed my life forever. But like, I am a very spiritual person. And I remember God speaking to me, kept telling me, not right now. And I knew he wasn't going to take me, because he was using me. And I was okay. He had
me. Glory to God. That is awesome. And I'm so glad that he's using you and you're pouring back into the lives of youth as well as, everyone. I so love the fact, I think every youth and all of the listeners out there know how much water to drink now. If you didn't, I need you to press rewind or replay so you can listen to this live again. So it's 6 to 8, 16-ounce water bottles, not 8-ounce water bottles, but 16-ounce water bottles a day. And we talked about males needing less than females, right?
They require a little bit more because they're bone.
They require more, right? Yeah. They require more.
But the women are increasing more green and more things like fruits because of them going through their womanhood as they transition. So they need them more that green, and that'll replace those nutrients that they put out during the month.
Let's talk about that for a minute. We have probably about 13 more minutes, because when I was younger, I was diagnosed with PMDD. That was way before I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I had PMS really bad. So the doctor ended up, telling me how to count, do the calendar. And when I started having these mood swings and all of this, and, they said I had PMDD, put me on medication. And I started noticing that this is like more than this little time frame that they gave me. So now looking back, I'm sure, food was a contributor as well. So what can young females do? And even men, because I feel like men have whatever MS they have, but they do. So what kind of foods would you recommend for those type of syndromes?
I say plenty of vitamin D and vitamin C. Even when you don't want to be active, vitamin D, we pull it from the sun. We are African Americans, our skin require vitamin D, and it controls our mood. As you notice, as the equator flips and we move around the sun, that a lot of us get less sun. And then we go through our highest. That you notice in the wintertime that they usually have a lot more killings in the winter than they do during the summer, because people are not getting that much sun. They're at their lowest at that time. If we don't get enough sun, we can be off our rockers. But how we get the vitamin D? Things like sweet potato. I tell people, like, if you have a sweet potato can be your best friend. Eat it raw.
Without the cinnamon and sugar.
Without the cinnamon, eat it raw. Go ahead and peel it, cut them up as fries, and just eat them as is. The component of the sweet potato itself, it helps with depression as well. It's that orange food. Like it, I love sweet potatoes, but can you do sweet potato pies? Because I'm gonna tell you something special on here, and a lot of you probably didn't know this. So, you know, as we cook when the holiday come, you have your sweet potato jelly, candy yams, and all that. So I go to one of my friends' house or whatever, and I make the statement, there is a difference between sweet potato and yam. They are not the same. A sweet potato is orange. A yam is brown. There is a difference between the two. So when people be like, they're cooking candy yams, they are cooking candy sweet potatoes. They're not cooking candy yams. And so people have this misconception of food when they cook, and that's not what it is. Also, something special about us is a cola nut. These are things we brought over here on the boat. We brought black-eyed peas here. We brought watermelon here. We brought the sweet potato here because the yam is not ours. The sweet potato here. But then we also brought the cola nut. This is the cola nut they have right now in the component that they use for Coca-Cola, and that is ours.
Wow.
That's ours. We have a lot to be proud about.
Yes.
And rice, and more rice.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they had all those different plantations right there at the border of South Carolina. And there was a lot of rice plants, not cotton plants, rice. That was ours. So these are things that came here that we brought here.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to share that so you know that, you know, a lot of this stuff was not already here. A lot of this stuff, they loaded that boat up and they brought that stuff here with us.
Awesome. That is just, I'm so loving this. I'm so loving this. I like the fact that you brought out the eating with first of all, butter. You are so right. It's good. You know, it doesn't taste so good, but when it's melted, and it's melted on something. And then, you know, we cook it with, you know, food. It is good, but it is not always good for us. So what about olive oil?
So I use olive oil butter, and then I also use avocado butter. Yeah. So you can use those because you have, you know, olive, it's made from the olive itself. Butter is more saturated, is chemically made. And so you want to pull away from that and go natural as possible when it comes to your butter. You're going to get the same taste, trust. Once you add the butter on and add your seasonings, you know, I say go that route. Me, I am a Himalayan person. I use a lot of Himalayan salt on my food because it keeps me balanced, because it has so many different essential nutrients in it that I want the pink salt. My body requires it, and I pull away from the regular salt, because it doesn't have any nutrients in it. It just have iodine in it. And that's one component versus me getting something like pink salt that really has over 60 in it. So I'll go pink salt versus regular salt.
Wow. 60 nutrients in Himalayan salt.
Yes.
Wow.
Even helps with headaches. Like one of my friends called me the other day, she had a migraine. If you eat 8 to 10 almonds during a migraine, it actually reduces the effects of the migraine.
Wow.
So our babies have a lot of headaches. You don't have to pump them full of aspirin all the time. A lot of stuff is actually done natural.
Right. That is so awesome. And even adults that are on here, I mean, this is very good information. High blood pressure, you mentioned that earlier. I like the fact that you talked about bonding with the food, how we bond, take your time and eat slow. I know that that's a very good weight loss component as well.
Yes.
Sure, with nutrients. And we eat so fast is because most of the times we're so busy. We're busy people. We want to run. We don't take time to sit and chew and eat our food. So thank you for mentioning that as well. All the different foods that are so good for you. What are you going to do when you are talking on that phone or chatting? What are you going to do? Are you all going to prep your fruit before, or a boiled egg or something like that? Now, speaking of eggs, you know, this was asked so many times when I've, you know, brought different vendors at my job. Like, is yolk good or is yolk not good?
Yolk
So
is good because it has vitamin D in it too. I mean, for our kids right now, they need it.
Right.
Now,
right.
once you transition and come into, adulthood, you can pull back from it because your body is already really shaping, you know what I'm saying? And you could pull it from other places. But when you have a child that can't pull it from other places, and if I'm in a food desert and the only thing I have is eggs, I need the whole thing.
Right. Okay.
I need the whole thing. Because we're dealing with a lot of pockets of dead food deserts now, that you have more liquor stores on the corners than you do grocery stores. So you have to be able to pull it somewhere. And I tell them to make sure those kids are getting those eggs.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Can we talk about carbs right quick?
Oh, let's go.
Is there any
carbs? You know what? I don't really dwell on carbs or fats or proteins. This is how creative you is when it comes to it, because I'm more of this. Everybody said bread. That's a lot of their weaknesses is bread. I say go 100% whole grain. Mm-hmm. Just because the package say 100% whole grain, you have to flip it over and read the label, because it may not be 100% whole grain. Because guess what? The first word you may see on there may say enriched white flour, and then it'll say wheat. No. You want to say 100% whole wheat. The very first word when you flip it over, you allowed to have grain, and I'm going to tell you why. I tell my kids, remember how you remember rhymes? Brain, grain, brain. You have to rhyme it. You have to have a small portion of that inside your diet. But a lot of people are big bread eaters, and you can pull grain from other places like brown rice. Oatmeal. I eat that every single morning. Not a morning go past, because that's good for my heart as well, but it's also good for my mind. That grain is. Mm-hmm. So, and that's how I keep up retention, the information, because my people up here are always working, so I have to keep them fed. Mm-hmm. That's what I call them, my workers. But definitely, carbs. I don't even tell kids to get off into that just yet. That's when you transition and where you have some balance inside your life that you can start pulling that away. Right. Because a lot of our bodies require it just through our blood type. I'm just being honest. That's one thing you can't pull away, but red meat, you can pull it away. Mm-hmm. But like carbs and things like that, it's hard to pull those things where you have to have a small moderation of it. My book that's coming out in November is a keto diet book. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people are getting off into keto. Mm-hmm. And so it's a book full of nothing but recipes, but everything on keto. And then my blood pressure book will drop the same month as well, on how to actually reduce your high blood pressure. And do it naturally, because they don't want the pills anymore. The pills is not it. It has them feeling some type of way. And I hear people say it all the time. It's the feeling behind it that I don't like. So now I have my own high blood pressure recipe book that's coming as well. And then a smoothie book. All of them will come out in November.
Wow, it's a smoothie book, a keto diet, and high blood pressure.
Yeah, DASH diet for the high blood pressure.
Oh, awesome.
And the kids gonna love the smoothie book, because it's full of so many different smoothies that they can put together, and it's amazing.
Awesome. Congratulations. You really been working hard. You all remember your blue, remember the rainbow. Remember the rainbow. I want a youth to tell me a color. A youth, give me a color of the rainbow and what kind of foods associate with that color. So who wants to go with red? Who wants to go with red? Do y'all remember?
Tomato, Raven.
All right, red. Okay, tomato. And what does it help with, Robert? What does it help with? One of them is cancer, but also so when I think about red, I'm gonna think, yes, go ahead on, Dr. Raven, go ahead on. Oh, that was Raven that said tomato, yes.
Yeah, but even with the man, with that actually is one of those components in there to reduce his chances from having prostate cancer one day.
Oh, good. So tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so what about blue?
Ooh, that's my favorite.
My favorite one. Me too. So blue. You think about blue, I mean, the answer is in
Mm-hmm.
the rainbow color. So you think about blue, then what?
Yeah.
Blueberries, yes, awesome. Nyla, blueberries for your brain. Very good. Yes.
Do a hand cup of them every other day. And I'm telling you, you're going to be able to nail that test every single time your teacher give it to you.
Very good.
Cup.
Okay, that is awesome. All right, but don't get that, don't listen though, but you're gonna need that cup every day, because when the teacher gives out the information and when you're studying, you're gonna need those blueberries to help you.
Yeah, I eat on while I'm studying.
Yes, that is so good. And I love blueberries. Yellow. This was new for me, Shane. I didn't know this one. So this was good. Yellow. This is good too. It makes very good pina colada version. Pina colada. Oh, somebody say bananas. Okay, bananas was on there. Yes, yes. And what does the banana? The banana is like, I like that. It puts a what on your face? A smile.
Potassium.
Yes, Delana, pineapple, potassium, absolutely. And also it fights infection. I was like, wow, that was really good. What about green? This is our most popular one that we hear about all the time is green. Get you some greens.
Mm-hmm.
And what does it prevent? Green prevents, and we're going to be closing in a few minutes. You all are on fire, youth. Greens prevent, I said it earlier as well. It reduces the effect of cancer, and it also prevents cancer. And I'm just trying to read my writing. Orange. Orange. This is good for diabetes. Good, good. Robert. Okay, he said diabetes. What's good for diabetes?
Staying on task. Staying on task. That's the preventative method. Everything, even if you allow us as individuals can have 1 cup, a person that's diabetic has to have half of that size. They have to prevent themselves from having sugar. They can have things like watermelon. So you have to be able to know how much water is in each one of the fruits when it comes to diabetes. So when people come to me, I put together their plans so I know what food for them to avoid and what food they can have. But the water counterbalance out the sugar. So I always tell them watermelon. They have things like Granny Smith apples. They can have those. If it was a Fiji apple, it would be different because that's the sweetest apple that it is. It's a lot of sugar in the Fiji apple. And so I tell them to kind of pull back from the Fiji apple and they can have the Granny Smith apple. So it's a lot to being a diabetic.
Yeah, and that's awesome. Okay, so beautiful ladies that are on here. Hair, skin, and nails with our orange. Apricots. So y'all thought I was gonna say oranges, but apricots, carrots, mangoes. Y'all was listening. All right, and then it's also for everyone, our teeth and our bones. So that was really good. Yellow pepper, I love those. So I like that for yellow peppers. And we talked about parents, sit down at the table with your children. Please sit down at the table, talk with them, slowly eat with them. I like when you said, don't just, you mentioned something about listening to your children, don't judge them, listen to them, and how mood and food affects mood and food. So you think about that, it affects your mood. So you eat all that sugar, you eat the things you don't supposed to have, it'll take you to a high, but it will end up bringing you down to low. So you mentioned about Alzheimer's and dementia. This is so good. Blueberries, raspberries, all those berries. And I guess the Mediterranean diet or way of living.
That's what's working. But also when you were in the store with your children, allow them to pick out things they've never had before and you guys put it together as a family. There is peppers. And when you look at the peppers, there is a male pepper and a female pepper. Always remember that, because one is sweeter than the other. So when you look at the peppers, you're going to turn them upside down and you're going to see the little notches on the bottom of them. And when you see the 3 notches, you're going to count it out and say BOY. That's going to be a boy pepper. And then when you flip the other one over, it's going to be a girl pepper, and she has 4 knots on her, and it's on GIRL. You know, it's girl, but they taste different. So do that with your kids as an activity. Go out and buy peppers and actually be able to taste the difference between the two, because one is sweeter than the other and one is more juicier than the other. And you're going to be able to tell as soon as you cut it open and y'all actually taste it together that there's a difference between the two. And the girl, she's known for actually having other peppers that grow inside of her as well. So yeah. So it's going to shock you if you cut one open.
You know, that woman, carries a baby everywhere, huh? That womb, she's carrying a baby, wow, this is amazing. I have to say thank you so much. Did you want to add anything else? Did anyone else have any questions, any comments before we close? Shayna, this was absolutely awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So you will be receiving your community service hours. I will do it as I finish, so I will not forget. Because I'll be headed out of town. So I'll make sure I do it today. And you all start eating right. It's a new day. You all start in the chat. If you will please look in the chat, and Shayna's website is
Healthy Just Feels Right. So we're going out with the old and in with the new. Out with the old,
in with the new. Yes. And that Japanese word is Shabishi.
Shabishi.
Yes. That's when your mouth it's just lonely. Now, if you're not hungry, your mouth just lonely. Drink some water. No, just kidding.
Yeah, drink some water. Drink some water. That's what it is.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Did you want to add anything else?
No, that was it. But my website is up, and hey, I'm just excited that a lot of you are probably going to transition into this new stage in your life and go ahead and embrace it, because you are shaping who you are about to come as far as the future, and also the future you that you're about to create. So this is actually putting an end to generational habits and creating generational legacies.
That is so awesome. And then do you have a pre-sale on your books right now?
They will be focused on that, I think, sometime this weekend. I'm waiting on my person now. So
okay, awesome.
I gotta do them later.
And I haven't forgotten, I will be raffling off a book for all of the youth that participate. And I think everyone pretty much participated, and you're going to get their rainbow book. All right. So we would definitely be patronizing you, Shayna, and you take care. We'll be in contact. You, thank you so much for being patient with us, and parents that are out there, everyone, let's eat better for a new beginning of our health and our physical health and our mental health. Have a great day.